Do you even need podcast guests, bro? Do you even lift, bro? Do you? Do you? You're listening to the VIC Podcasters podcast, your bite-sized slice of podcasting know-how. We're here to connect Victorian podcasters. Whether you're just starting, a seasoned pro, or stuck in the one day I will phase, stop dreaming and dive in. Join our email list or hop onto our Facebook and LinkedIn groups for updates, resources, and a supportive community. Because podcasting is better when we do it together. VIC Podcasters is proudly produced on Wadawurrung land. Apologies for that gym rat expression. It went a lot better in my head, so calm down. So, first of all, in this series about podcast guesting, this is episode 1 of 3, where we're going to be talking all about guesting for podcasts. We're going to first off by addressing, does your podcast even need guests? Because I know that is a little bit of a trigger for most people who are starting their podcast, or even people who are thinking about pivoting to guests because in their minds it might be easier. I'll tell you how that is, if you're right or if you're wrong. Episode 2 will be where to find great guests, and episode 3 will be how to be a good guest host, as well as an interviewer, of course. On to today's episode, which will be about, do you even lift, bro? Do you even need guests at all? When it comes to podcasting, especially when you are starting out, or even if you are someone who is starting a new podcast after starting a fair few, or maybe even have a few concurrently running, like myself, the question on everyone's lips is, do I need podcast guests or can I ride solo? And that question is something that does not have a one-size-fits-all answer, because it depends on 3 factors: your goals for your podcast and for your community, your style of presenting, and third of all, and this one's a big one for me, your energy levels. Yes, because when you go beyond managing just yourself, it's a lot of energy, surprisingly. But first of all, let me get to the pros first before I shoot down my own arguments here. When it comes to going solo, for example, a lot of my podcasts are solo personally because I like to have that control of being able to not have to wait around for others. Ultimately, when it comes to podcasting, you are the star. There is no schedule dramas because it's just you. There's ultimately faster turnaround times, less editing and less email tag or chasey because you are just working with you. And even if you are working with a small team, if you're able to record, batch, and get that content out there for, say, an editor or maybe a producer to help you along the way, the point is that ultimately you are just working on that. You don't need to wait around for things to happen because at the end of the day, it is you. Just pausing your podcasting experience to let you know that I run a business called the Video Confidence Coach, which emboldens women and non-binary superstars with killer video marketing strategies, empowering them to show up, stand out, and smash their goals. If this sounds like you, reach out to me in the show notes below. And finally, you control the message. You can stay on brand and you stay on time because, again, it is just you. And as you can imagine with me, this is Zoe, the Video Confidence Coach here, my shtick is entirely personal branding. And it helps to be able to control your personal branding when you have control over the message. Let's talk about the pros of having guests instead. When it comes to guests, alternatively from going solo, is you have fresh voices. It brings a variety of new angles, new stories, and a variety. Now, these guests can be for multiple episode stints, or just one-off interview style opportunities, or people have recurring guest spots within your podcast. So it's not just a one-off thing, it's something that they can keep coming back into. There's plenty of options for you. Ultimately, when you have guests, you have shared audiences. Because of course, you both have your own personal brands and your own communities of what you're both passionate about. So you're able to promote each other and honestly get more community and get more ears listening and hopefully eyeballs watching your podcast. And when you collaborate and have guests on your podcast, you do get instant credibility, especially if they're known in your niche already or have a pre-established mojo about them, I should say, that you're able to use that credibility to then spread that to you. Of course, you need to make sure that you hold your end of the bargain and are consistent with that work and make sure that you're actually there for them. So here are some things to consider. Ultimately, thinking about your goals on your podcast, what is your format? Are guests adding value or are they adding clutter to your vision or how you perceive your podcast going? And ultimately, are you guest ready? Are you ready for the technological difficulties and also the tech that is required from hosting a guest? the flow? Do you have any practice with interviewing? Or it's not just chatting with your friends at the pub. It's like actively, do you have any experience with that? And if not, can you learn how to get that flow to start guesting with those podcasts? Do you have the confidence to be solid enough to have guests on your podcasts? Now, I'm not saying this to scare you at all. There are no rules here when it comes to podcasting because you are doing it. No one's stopping you. But if you are still a little bit unsure or you need a little bit of guidance, make sure to download our Pitch Perfect guest email template pack in the show notes and in the description. This is something that I've provided to plenty of my clients, but also plenty of people within the VIC podcasting community to help them just have an idea of what they need to say, all the way from cold to warm to hot ways of dealing with guests and getting them on their podcasts, and also helps you with pitching, everything, of course. There are no rules, so you're able to mix it up. You can have a hybrid of shows, and you can totally do your own thing when it comes to podcasts. You can either start solo and then grow into guests in the future when you have a more established audience, or maybe start off building some credibility and building that community with those guests, and then eventually moving into a solo podcast when that works for you. Again, whatever works for you, but being able to be consistent with that choice is the thing that counts. That's a wrap. Remember, we're here every week to share quick tips, updates, and the occasional bad joke. Feeling inspired? Good. Now hit record or go to the show notes of this episode for a backstage pass experience of the Victorian podcasting scene. VIC Podcasters would like to acknowledge and pay our respects to the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians on the land on which we work, live, and play. We pay our respects to their elders past and present. We stand with the traditional custodians of these lands in working towards a more equal future. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. And remember, podcasting doesn't have to be a solo gig.